Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a KV-85, a Clement Vershilov 85. It's basically a derivation of the KV-1S with an 85mm gun. This one's on the north spawn of mines and is under the command of SlyMeerkat. Alongside him in the AMX 12-ton is Omen Enraged. Game on. Well, what can I say about this tank? It has less ammo than the KV-1, but it's basically a speedier version of a KV-1 because after all it's got the 85mm gun. It's based on a KV-1S, so it's a lighter tank overall, optimized. They only built 148 of them. Oh, lovely first shot straight into the Skoda T25. He felt that one. He took a hit for 264. Now, there's two types of gun you can actually get for some of the tanks. He's got the 100mm in this one, not the 85mm. Although the original KV-85 was basically a 85mm armed KV-1S. They did make KV with a 100mm gun. That was the KV-100. They also made a KV-122, which is in the game, but they only made one prototype of that one. Now, it was also known as the Object 238, and when it was actually finally replaced, they replaced it with the IS-1, which obviously was much better than this one. Well, he's asking the Striv 74 full back because he's actually being sort of like surrounded at this moment. It's a tier 8 game, and well, Sly is a tier 6 heavy tank, so he's kind of outmatched by those guys. But look at that, he's got a lovely shot in. The one good thing about the 100mm gun is you've got great DPM. Very good DPM indeed. It's got a nice trade-off. You get a lot of damage fairly quickly with the 100mm gun, but of course you do have to fire more often. With the 122 you get good big damage, but you have to wait so long for the reloads to go through. Now in the game you get two choices. You can actually have the 100mm or you can have the 122mm D25T, but I think the 100mm is by far the best, and Sly's trying to get his third mark of excellence, and that's why he's selected to have the 100mm to have the best effect. Because after all, getting your marks is all about maximising your damage rolls. Owen Enraged is doing a good job. He's on the South Island at the moment, so he's pestering the enemy down there. It's a T-34-85 down there, which he's got to get rid of. One of the bad things about this tank, I'm afraid, is it's got virtually no gun depression. 3 degrees is all you get. It's pretty terrible, considering the KV-1 actually gets 5 degrees of gun depression, so at least that's got something. It's also got a fairly poor view range, only 340 meters, but Sly's making good use of that with his shots. Oh, he just got clobbered. Yeah, and again. And it's the Progetto, and he's got 2 shots in, so he has to pull back because his armour's not that great. His turret armour's only 100mm at the front, 75 on the hull, and the sides, well, the sides of the hull are only 60mm and the rear's the same. That's what was hitting him, the Progetto. So yeah, negligible armour on this thing. At least it's 90 on the sides and rear of the turret, so he's got virtually the same armour all the way around on the turret. Now it's rather a late development, this tank, because they actually started developing it in spring of 1943, and they were in service from August 1943 until December of 1943, and then of course they had the IS-2 come into action in spring of 1944. So that 148 of the KV-85 didn't last very long until, of course, they came up with something much better. At the moment, Sly's having a bit of a problem because we've got an E25 in the castle grounds. He's kind of proxy spotting us at the moment. If we go out around that corner, we're going to get hit, and he's trying to get a shot on that Progetto without getting the E25 shooting him in the ass. No, it's not working at the moment. But he has got a fair amount of damage already, 2,304 hit points. I think that T103's got the same problem. He's holding off a Renegade just around the corner. And if the T103 falls, then Sly's going to have to try and stop that Renegade from moving further on up. Mind you, we do have some guys nearby in terms of the guys above the plateau, above the cap area and the plateau. We've got a Steer Mill and a Steer, but the Steer's actually headed south. And it appears that Omen and Rage did get wiped out down there. We didn't see that happen. One of those few battles where he's not engaged. Oh, no, this is good. The Scorpion's got really close to the Progetto, which is proxy spotting him, which means now that Sly knows when the Progetto moves up, but the Scorpion's getting hold, and so he can't stay there for very long. And I think it was the AMX M445 who actually did hit him. Okay, so he's decided to move up and see if he can inconvenience the Progetto and the M4. The best way to do that is actually to move through these houses, try and get behind them or into a position where they can't exert their influence. The AMX just took a hit. Not sure who did that, but he's now one shot, and the Progetto, well, the enemy AMX M445's gone, which means the Progetto's now vulnerable. And there's one hit, but he got one back. The Scorpion can now come into play. Can he get a 90mm round into the Progetto? The Progetto's really vulnerable at the moment. The enemy's got an Arty, but I don't think he's willing to actually support. Or is he able to? Sly's down to just 53 hit points. He's very vulnerable. The Scorpion could be two-shotted out of the game, but Sly would be one-shotted if he presents himself. The Scorpion's decided to move. The Progetto will have to do something about this. Yeah, he's in a position he can do it now. So Sly's waiting on the Progetto to attack the Scorpion, and then he'll go into it, and there goes the first shot. We lose the Scorpion, but now we've got a T43. Sly, go for it. Go for it now. That's it. Oh, he doesn't get it, but go again. Go in again. You've got plenty of time. He's mucking about with the T43, and there you go. Kill. And there's only two enemies left now, the SU-152 and their Arty. That was very well played. I think Sly could have gone in a little quicker once the T43 was occupying the Progetto. The Scorpion did a great job trying to distract him. I think he felt that he could get into a position where his 90mm could really make an effect, but yeah, I'm afraid he was just a distraction more than anything. But Sly's now up to 2,711. The T43's decided he's invulnerable, and he's going in regardless of the fact that the SU-152 could put a serious dent in his hit points. The Steer Mill's down there. He's going in. There's the SU-152. Now, take the hit points. Do it again. Fire in again. Wait for the reload. And oh, ricochet. How did that happen? But he's gone, and now it's just the Arty. And I think he's letting the T43 take the honours. Now remember, you can shoot through those windows at the bottom if the M44 goes into hiding, and yes, he is in hiding. Oh, it's not an M44, it's an SU-8, my mistake. And Arty's getting involved as well. Yes, it's an M44 on our team. I got it wrong. And there he goes. That's the kill shot that won the game. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was the third mark of excellence game for SlyMeerkat in the KV-85. Yes, he's finally done it. He's tripped it up to 95% and got that third mark. He got an ace tanker in that game, as well as a spotter for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle. No other medals. We'll find out why in a second. But very well played. Let's have a look at team score. Well, the highest damage in the game actually went to the Progetto on the enemy team. He got a fire for effect, but he didn't get anything else. 2,718 hit points went to him, so he didn't get 20% of the enemy hit pool. That's why he didn't get a high caliber. And Sly, well, he was only shortly below that with 7 hit points less. 2,711 went to Sly. And the third highest on damage was actually the M54 Renegade on the enemy team with 2,676. When it came to kills, it was actually shared between the T103, the IS-3A and the M54 Renegade. All got 3 kills apiece. 2 kills went to the T43, the M44, the M56 Scorpion, and to the Progetto on the enemy team. And Sly only got the 1 kill, but he did get a large amount of damage. Second highest on damage, of course. When it came to base XP, though, it's Sly's at the top with 1,213 on XP. 908 went to the IS-3A and 883 went to the T43. Sly fired 18 rounds in that game, got 12 direct hits and 11 penetrations, 2,111 hit points, all of it at close range. Received 4 hits from the enemy, and most of them were 90mm rounds, which is why he suffered so much damage during the game. 3 enemy vehicles spotted, 6 enemy vehicles damaged, 1 killed, and 1,132 hit points of spotting assist. He earned 35,940 credits from the game, 26,955 from personal reserves, a total of 86,256 credits altogether, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables, and yes, he did have to fire some premium ammo, he still came out ahead though with 16,077 credits profit. 1,213 XP, 273 for playing in a platoon, 2,093 experience points altogether. We didn't see where Owen and Rage came. Yes, he was down here, I'm afraid. He only got 268 hit points of damage before he was taken out of the game, but it was a successful game all the same. So, let's have a look at the armor profile for the KV-85. Okay, this is the armor. It's basically a KV-1S. As I said, it's reduced armor than the KV-1, but it's got a better gun. You can see the lower plate is around about 60mm impacted armor. That's the thickness of the armor, but of course the effective armor with angling takes it up a little bit to about 70mm. If I put that straight on, you can see the angling on the front plate, 50mm becomes 65.9. Around the driver's area, it's 75mm. So they've increased the armor there, but you can see that its effective is 80 because there's a slight amount of angling. It's only a tiny amount, you can see there. But you can see the driver's port is a weak spot because it says no armor there, and you can actually penetrate through that viewport. The turret, you can see at the front of the turret, it's actually 100mm, but with the angling and everything, you can see slightly more. So it's not very effective hitting the turret of these tanks. But remember, these tanks, because they've only got 3mm of, or 3 degrees rather, of gun depression, they're very difficult to use over a ridgeline. So most of the time, you're probably going to be facing this gun and facing the front of the tank and the hull as well, if they want to try and get a shot at you. The turret, the cupola rubber, is a weak spot. 90mm of armor up there. You can punch through that, and if you're actually facing them dead on, and you have a big enough gun, you might be able to pen through that armor, because look, impacted armor is 30mm, even though it's well angled, so incredibly well angled. But if you've got a 90mm round or better, 100mm round, you could probably overcome that and just plow straight through that top of the turret. I think they call the term overmatch. Anyway, if we look at the sides of the vehicle, we can see that 60mm at the side, well angled. It's slab-sided on from here, but if you shoot at the tank and it's angling towards you, you're only going to get around about 70 to 90mm. It's the same at the rear as well, so there's no advantage really by, if you can shoot it in the side, try, but it's fairly weak armor. You can easily pen if you can put the shells through the drive wheel. Again, at the rear of the turret, I said it's 90mm basically sides and rear. So again, 100mm of pen because of the roundedness, and of course it's much easier to hit through the hull. Let's have a look at the modules. Okay, we can see the driver is in the center this time. On the KV-1, normally the driver was on the right hand side, the gunner was on the left hand side, or driver's mate as they call it. In this one, they've put the driver in the center, much like they have on the IS series of tanks. And he's actually got a fuel tank just to his right, as you're looking at it there, and an ammo rack on the floor directly underneath the turret. There's another fuel tank at the back. So yeah, there's plenty of things that could go bang in this turret, in this tank. The gunner is in the turret, of course, next to the gun, and he's got the TC directly behind him with that cupola. So if you can penetrate through the front of the turret, you might just get the commander at the same time. The radio's right next door to the commander. Over on the other side of the tank, we've got the loader and a ready rack in the bustle of the turret, just about. You can see it slightly in the bustle. So if you can penetrate through the side of the turret, you might be able to make the thing go bang. Difficult to hit the deep ammo rack because those the tracks and the bogies are going to be in the way. At the rear of the vehicle, obviously we've got the engine and then the transmission behind that. Fuel tank is forward of the engine. Normally they put the engine in the center and the fuel tanks either side of it. In this one, the fuel tanks are up in the center of the vehicle, where of course they are more vulnerable to enemy fire. And as we've seen with the T-72s recently, and talking about current events, yes, putting your modules in the wrong place can have the wrong effect if they get hit by a round, which then penetrates the tanks, sets fire to the tank, or hits the ammo store and makes the thing go bang. So yes, I think that's why you're seeing so many tanks with their turrets off in Ukraine at the moment. But that aside, looking at this one, you can see there's plenty of things that you can actually aim at. In fact, if you can get a round through the side of the vehicle, remember it's only 60mm of armor here, you're going to hit something. So if you can aim between the tracks and you penetrate, you're either going to get a fuel leak, a fire, or you're going to damage the engine. Trying to hit that ammo rack is going to be a bit difficult. If you can punch through the side of the turret, by all means, you probably will get one of the crew members. In fact, you might get all three if you're lucky. But it's much easier to set this tank alight. As I said, they only built 148 of them, and then they moved on to the IS series of tanks. So the KV-85 was short-lived. But it's still an interesting tank, especially if you're working your way up towards the higher tanks on the Soviet line. I hope you enjoyed this replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And please do remember that we're giving all of the funds, all of the revenue, I was about to say, from this channel to the Red Cross Ukraine appeal to help those people coming out of the Ukraine war. And please do watch as many of our videos as you can, because the more you watch, the more revenue we get and the more we can send to the charity. Thanks for watching.